Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. My dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today our topic is food web. जैसे कि आप जानते हैं कि हमने पहले डिस्कस किया था what is environment, what is ecosystem, and we discussed the food chain. Now today our topic is food web. Before discussing the concept of food web, we will remind what is a food chain. As already discussed, food chain is the sequential interlinking of organisms involving transfer of food energy from producers through a series of organisms with repeated eating and being eaten is called the food chain. Here we put an example. Here you have the plants. Plants are the producers which produce the food. These are autotrophs. These produce food. They prepare food not only for themselves but also for the rest of the world. Here you have the plants. These plants are in turn eaten by the elephant. So here is a chain. Here is an interlinking. Here is an interlinking of organisms. Here the transfer of food energy takes place from plants to elephants. This is called as food chain. Here we have another example. Here we have the grass as producers, as autotrophs. These are eaten by this deer. This grass is eaten by deer. Deer is in turn eaten by tiger. So here is a sequential interlinking of the organisms, and the transfer of food energy takes place from this grass, that's producers, autotrophs, to consumers. That's first consumer, primary consumer is deer. It consumes the grass, and the transfer of food energy takes place from this grass to deer. हमने पहले ही कहा है कि जो ग्रास है ये ऑटोट्रॉफ है, ये अपने लिए गज़ा तैयार करता है, एंड इन टर्न इट मेक्स, और दूसरों के लिए भी गज़ा तैयार करता है. जैसे कि आप यहाँ पर देख सकते हैं कि डियर जो है वो प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर है. यहाँ पर वो कंज्यूम करता है ग्रास. दैट मीन्स वो एनर्जी हासिल करता है ग्रास से, फूड एनर्जी हासिल करता है ग्रास से. और जो डियर है, डियर इज इन टर्न ईटन बाय द टाइगर. यहाँ पर जो टाइगर है वो किसको खाता है? वो डियर को खाता है. सो हियर नेटवर्क, a chain is formed, a food chain is formed between grass, deer and tiger. And similarly we have another food chain here. Grass is eaten by grasshopper, and grasshopper is eaten by frog, and frog is eaten by snake is eaten by eagle. So here we have the grass as producers, as autotrophs. These are eaten by grasshopper, and grasshopper is eaten by frog is eaten by snake is eaten by eagle. So we say here that a food chain is formed. But here we have 2 steps in the food chain. Here we have 3 steps in the food chain. Here we have 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in the food chain. This acts as producers or autotrophs. These act as consumers. This is the primary consumer, this is the secondary consumer, and this is tertiary consumer, and this is quaternary consumer. So these are the consumers. These are the grass is producer here. It acts as producer, it acts as autotroph which synthesizes food. Here we have another example of the food chain. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. So grass acts as producers. These act as consumers. Primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer. Here we have another food chain. See. So These steps in a food chain, as already discussed with you, are known as trophic levels. So here we have 2 trophic levels, here we have 3 trophic levels, here we have 5 trophic levels, here we have 4 trophic levels, here we have 4 trophic levels. So a trophic level is a step where the transfer of food energy takes place. So each step in a food chain is basically called as the trophic level. Now, as for the food web is concerned, food web is simply a network of food chains. It is a network of food chains which become interconnected at various trophic levels so as to form a number of feeding connections amongst the different organisms of a biotic community. Here we have one food chain. See here, over here, we have grasshopper, we have frog, we have predatory bird, we have tiger. This is a one food chain. Here we have one food chain. So here, grass, caterpillar, bird, snake, eagle. This is another food chain. But here we see that this snake can eat this rat as well as frog as well as bird. So this snake occupies multiple positions in here at this very trophic level. It occupies multiple positions. It can eat this frog, it can eat this bird, it can this rat. So here this food chain, and this food chain, these are interconnected with each other at various trophic levels. Here I will put another example. You can see here, you have here cat, rat, cat and tiger. This this tiger can eat this cat, and wolf can also eat this cat. So here this food chain is also interconnected over here. So when different food chains are connected at different trophic levels, it forms a food web. So it means that food web is a network. तो हम कह सकते हैं कि जो फूड वेब है वो एक नेटवर्क है, वो एक जाल है. किनका? फूड चेन्स का एक जाल है. यानी जो फूड चेन्स होती हैं वो इंटरकनेक्टेड होती है. यानी एक मखसूस ट्रॉपिक लेवल पे एक मखसूस ऑर्गेनिज्म जो होता है उसको ये अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है कि वो एक फूड चेन से भी या दूसरी फूड चेन से भी या तीसरी फूड चेन से भी अपना ग़िज़ा हासिल कर सकता है. सो दिस connects one food chain with another food chain, so it forms a food web. So the food web also forms an alternative pathways of food availability and organisms. It provides organisms an opportunity to provide get food from different pathways. So if an organism do not get food from one food chain, he may get the food from another food chain. So it provides an alternative pathways of food availability. Number second, it makes the ecosystem more stable. This food web makes ecosystem more stable. And remember, we have already discussed that the food chains are always straight, but as for the food webs are concerned, food webs are never straight. They are interconnected with each other, they are interlinked with each other, as I have shown here. You can make it simple. You cannot if you are not able to draw this whole, you can draw a few food chains and make their connections. For example, you can make up to this. Here different connections are made, different interlinkings are made between the food chains, so it will make a small food web. So food web is a network of food chains which become interconnected at various trophic levels so as to form a number of feeding connections among us different organisms of a biotic community. Thank you, dear students.